Hello, English learners. I'm Emma, your host for today. If you're new here, I just want to tell you that we upload a new English learning video every single day to help you improve your English faster, more naturally, and more confidently. In today's episode, you're going to take a powerful step forward in your English journey because we are moving beyond advanced and stepping into true mastery. Today, we are focusing on how to move from a C1 level to a C2 level through deeper daily conversations that will help you think in English, respond naturally, and express yourself with precision and confidence. This is not just about learning more vocabulary or memorizing complex grammar. This is about transforming the way you use English in real life, how you express ideas, how you handle conversations, how you react in different situations, and how you sound when you speak. Because at the C2 level, it's not about knowing English, it's about living in English. In this lesson, you'll experience deeper, more meaningful daily conversations, the kind of conversations that native speakers have every day. You'll learn how to express opinions clearly, how to explain your thoughts with nuance, how to react naturally in discussions, and how to keep conversations flowing without hesitation. I'll also guide you through real-life style examples and practice moments, so you don't just listen, you actively improve your speaking as well. By the end of this video, you'll feel more confident expressing complex ideas. You'll notice how your sentences become smoother, more connected, and more natural. And most importantly, you'll start thinking in English at a deeper level without translating in your mind. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you never miss your daily English practice, because consistency is the real secret to fluency. So, take a deep breath, relax your mind, and get ready to step into a higher level of English. Let's begin. Let's start with something simple, something familiar, something that already exists in your daily life. Because the real difference between a C1 and a C2 speaker is not just about complexity, it's about depth, clarity, and control over everyday conversations. At the C1 level, you can already communicate well, you can express your ideas, you can understand most situations, but sometimes you may still feel a slight hesitation, a small gap between what you want to say and how naturally you say it. And that is exactly what we are going to work on today. Imagine this situation. You meet a friend in the morning, and they ask you, "How did your day start?" At the C1 level, you might say something like, "My day started well. I woke up early, had breakfast, and went to work." This is correct. This is clear. But now, let's slowly move this toward a C2 level response, where your answer becomes more expressive, more detailed, and more natural. You might say, "It actually started quite peacefully. I woke up a bit earlier than usual, had some quiet time with my coffee, and slowly eased into my day, instead of rushing." Do you feel the difference? It's not about using difficult words. It's about adding feeling, rhythm, and natural flow. Now, I want you to practice this with me. Imagine your own morning and try to describe it in a deeper way. Not just what you did, but how it felt. You can say, "My morning felt," pause, and continue. I took my time to pause again and then finish your thought. This kind of speaking trains your brain to expand ideas naturally, and this is one of the key habits of C2 speakers. Let's take another common situation. Someone asks you, "What are your plans for today?" A C1 response might be, "I have some work to do, and then I will relax in the evening." That's fine. But a C2 speaker might say, "I have a few things lined up today. I need to focus on some important work first, and later in the evening, I'm planning to unwind and just take things easy." Notice how the sentence flows, how ideas connect smoothly, and how the tone feels more natural and conversational. Now, it's your turn again. Think about your actual plans for today and describe them with more detail. Try to connect your ideas using phrases like, "after that," "later on," "by the end of the day." Speak slowly. Don't rush, because fluency is not speed. Fluency is control. At the C2 level, conversations are not just about answering questions, they are about developing ideas. Let's go deeper. Imagine someone asks you, "Do you enjoy your daily routine?" A simple answer would be, "Yes, I like it." But now, let's expand this. You can say, "I'd say I enjoy parts of it, especially the moments where I can slow down and focus, although sometimes it does feel a bit repetitive." Now, this answer shows balance, opinion, and reflection, and that is exactly what we want. Let's practice this together. I'll give you a sentence, and you expand it. The sentence is, "I enjoy my routine." Now, add more detail. Maybe you explain why. Maybe you mention something you don't enjoy. Maybe you compare it to something else. Take a moment and say it out loud. Now, let's move into a slightly deeper conversation. Imagine you are talking to a colleague, and they say, "You seem a bit tired today." At the C1 level, you might say, "Yes, I didn't sleep well." But at the C2 level, you can respond like this, "Yeah, I had a bit of a restless night. I kept waking up, and I couldn't really get back into a deep sleep." This sounds more natural, more descriptive, and more human. Now, start your practice. Think about a time when you felt tired and describe it in more detail. You can say, "I felt tired because," and continue. Try to add one more sentence after that, and then one more. This is how you build depth. Let's continue, because at this level, reacting in conversations is just as important as speaking. Imagine your friend tells you, "I finally finished a big project." A simple response would be, "That's great, but we can do better." A C2 response might be, "That's amazing. I can only imagine how relieved you must feel after all that work." This shows empathy, connection, and emotional understanding. Now, would you try? Respond to this sentence. "I had a really stressful week." Don't just say, "I'm sorry." Expand it. Show understanding. Maybe say, "That sounds really exhausting. I hope you get some time to relax now." Say it out loud. Feel the tone. At this stage, your goal is not perfection. Your goal is expression. You want your English to sound alive, flexible, and natural. And this comes from practice like this. Small moments, repeated again and again. Let's go even deeper into daily life. Think about conversations at home. Imagine someone asks you, "What did you do yesterday?" Instead of giving a short answer, You can turn it into a small story. Yesterday was actually quite interesting. I started my day with, and then continue. Add details, emotions, small observations. This storytelling ability is a major difference between C1 and EC2. Now, pause and try this yourself. Think about yesterday and describe it like a story, not just a list of actions, but a flow of experiences. Another important skill at this level is handling unexpected questions. Imagine someone suddenly asks you, "What do you think about changing your lifestyle?" A C1 speaker might struggle, but a C2 speaker takes a moment and then responds smoothly. That's an interesting question. I think it really depends on what kind of changes we're talking about. But in general, I believe small, consistent changes are more effective than drastic ones. Notice how the speaker buys time, organizes thoughts, and answers clearly. Now, you practice. I'll give you a question. Do you think people should work less? Take a moment. Start with, "That's a good question." And then give your opinion, slowly, naturally. This is how you train your brain to handle real conversations. Because in real life, you don't always get time to prepare, but you can train yourself to respond calmly and clearly. Let's continue building this skill. Imagine you're explaining something, maybe your favorite habit. At the C1 level, you might say, "I like reading books." But at the C2 level, you expand. "I've developed a habit of reading regularly, especially in the evenings, because it helps me relax and clear my mind after a long day." This shows structure, purpose, and depth. Now, your turn. Think about one habit you have and describe it in this way. Start with, "I've developed a habit of," and continue. Add a reason, add a feeling. As you practice this, you'll notice something important. Your sentences become longer, but also clearer. This is the key. Longer does not mean complicated. Longer means more complete. Let's take one more situation for now. Imagine you are in a conversation where you slightly disagree with someone. At the C1 level, you might say, "I don't agree." But at the C2 level, you soften it. "I see your point, but I'm not sure I completely agree. I think there might be another way to look at it." This is polite, natural, and very effective. Now, let's practice this. Respond to the sentence. Working from home is always better. Try to disagree politely. Start with, "I see what you mean," and then give your view. Take your time, speak slowly, and focus on clarity. As we move forward, remember this. C2 is not about sounding impressive. It's about sounding real, natural, and confident in any situation. And everything we are doing right now is building that ability, step by step, now. Let's continue deeper into real daily conversations where your thinking, your reactions, and your expression all come together. Let's continue. And now, we'll move into slightly deeper layers of conversation where your goal is not just to respond, but to engage, to develop ideas, and to guide the conversation naturally. Because at the C2 level, you are not only a participant, you become a strong communicator who can shape the direction of any discussion. Imagine you are having a casual conversation with a friend, and they say, "I've been feeling a bit unmotivated lately." At the C1 level, you might respond with, "Why?" or "That's not good." But at the C2 level, you expand your response to show interest, empathy, and curiosity. You could say, "That sounds difficult. Do you think it's because of something specific? Or has it just you're been building up over time?" Notice how this kind of response keeps the conversation alive. It invites the other person to open up, and it shows that you are fully engaged. Now, it's your turn. Imagine someone tells you, "I don't feel like doing anything these days." Try to respond in a way that encourages them to speak more. You can start with, "That sounds tough," and then ask a follow-up question. Speak it out loud, slowly, and clearly. This skill, asking meaningful follow-up questions, is one of the strongest indicators of a C2 speaker because real conversations are not just about speaking, they are about connection. Let's go further. Imagine you are discussing a decision. Maybe your friend says, "I'm thinking about changing my job." At the C1 level, you might say, "That's a big decision." But at the C2 level, you can respond, sat like this. "That sounds like a big step. What's making you consider the change right now?" This response shows awareness, depth, and natural curiosity. Now, practice this. Respond to, "I'm thinking about moving to another city." Don't just react, explore the idea. Ask something meaningful, guide the conversation forward. As you do this, you are training your brain to think beyond simple answers. And this is exactly what pushes you from advanced to mastery. Now, let's shift into expressing opinions more deeply, because at the C2 level, your opinions are not short, they are developed. Imagine someone asks you, "Do you think technology is making our lives better?" A basic answer might be, "Yes, it helps a lot." But now, let's expand this into a more thoughtful response. "I think it has definitely made many aspects of our lives more nigh convenient, especially when it comes to communication and access to information. But at the same time, I feel like it has also created some challenges, like reduced face-to-face interaction." This kind of answer shows balance, structure, and critical thinking. Now, you try. Answer the same question, but take your time. Build your response, step by step. Start with your main idea, then add one supporting point, and then maybe add a contrast. This is how C2 speakers sound, not because they use difficult words, but because they organize their thoughts clearly. Let's go deeper into daily life again. Imagine you are explaining how you manage your time. At the C1 level, you might say, "I try to manage my time well," but at the C2 level, you can say, "I try to stay organized by planning my day in advance, and I usually prioritize the most. So important tasks first, so I don't feel overwhelmed later." Notice the clarity, the structure, and the sense of control. Now, your practice. Describe how you manage your day. Even if you think it's simple, expand it. Explain your process. Use connecting phrases like "usually," "so that," "in order to." Now, let's work on reacting more naturally in conversations, because at this level, your reaction should feel smooth and immediate. Imagine someone tells you, "I just tried something completely new today." A simple reaction would be, "Oh, really?" But a stronger response would be, "That sounds interesting. What did you try?" This keeps the conversation moving forward. Now, you practice, respond to, I learned something new this week. Show interest, ask a question, keep it natural. As we continue, let's focus on something very important. Handling pauses. At the C1 level, pauses can feel uncomfortable, but at the C2 level, pauses are natural and even useful. For example, if someone asks you a complex question, instead of rushing, you can say, "Let me think about that for a second," or, "That's an interesting point," and then continue. This gives you time, and it makes your speech sound more natural. Now, practice this. I'll give you a question. What does success mean to you? Don't answer immediately. First say, "That's a really interesting question." Pause, and then begin your answer slowly. This small technique can completely change how confident you sound. Let's move into storytelling again, but this time with more detail. Imagine you're telling someone about a recent experience. At the C1 level, you might say, "I went to a new restaurant yesterday." But at the C2 level, you can say, "Yesterday, I decided to try a new restaurant that I'd been hearing about, and honestly, it turned out to be a really enjoyable experience." Now, you've created a beginning, and you can continue the story naturally. Now, your turn. Think of a recent experience and describe it like a short story. Start with, "Recently," and then build your story, step by step. Add small details, like how you felt, what you noticed. This is how you make your English sound alive. Now, let's explore expressing uncertainty, because real conversations often include doubt. Imagine someone asks you, "Are you sure this is the best option?" A simple answer might be, "I don't know." But at the C2 level, you can say, "I'm not completely sure, but based on what I know so far, it seems like a reasonable choice." This sounds more thoughtful, more balanced. Now, practice. Respond to, "Do you think this will work?" Express uncertainty, but still give a thoughtful answer. Let's continue, because another important skill is comparing ideas. Imagine someone asks, "Do you prefer working alone or in a team?" A simple answer would be, "I prefer working alone," but a C2 response might be, "I think both have their advantages. Working alone allows me to focus deeply, but working in a team can bring in different perspectives." This shows flexibility and deeper thinking. Now, you try. Answer this question and include both sides. Then give your preference. As you practice all of this, something important is happening. Your brain is learning to build ideas, not just sentences. And this is the core of C2 fluency. Let's now move into everyday emotional expression. Imagine you are talking about something that made you happy. At the C1 level, you might say, "I was very happy." But at the C2 level, you can say, "It actually made me feel really content, like everything just felt right in that moment." This adds depth and makes your expression more natural. Now, your turn. Describe a moment when you felt happy. But don't just say happy. Explain the feeling. Let's continue. Because now, we will combine everything. Imagine a full conversation. Someone asks you, "How have you been lately?" Instead of saying, "I've been fine," you can say, "I've been doing quite well actually. I've been trying to focus more on my daily routine, and it's been helping me feel more balanced. This is how a simple question becomes a meaningful answer. Now, practice this. Answer that question in your own way. Expand your answer. Add one or two details. Take your time, because this is how fluency grows. As we move forward, keep reminding yourself, you are not just learning English, you are shaping how you express yourself, how you think, and how you connect with others through language. And now, we'll go even deeper into more complex, more natural, and more powerful daily conversations. Let's continue. And now, we'll step into even more natural and layered conversations, where your goal is not just to speak clearly, but to think more deeply while you speak, because at the C2 level, your mind and your language start working together smoothly, almost without effort. Imagine you are in a conversation where someone asks you, "What have you been focusing on lately?" At the C1 level, you might say, "I've been focusing on my work," which is correct, but limited. Now, let's expand this into a more natural and expressive C2 response. Lately, I've been trying to focus more on improving how I manage my time, especially during the day, because I realized I was getting distracted quite easily. This answer gives context, intention, and reflection, and that's exactly what we want. Now, it's your turn. Answer this question in your own way. Start with lately and continue. Try to explain, not just what, but why. Speak slowly and allow your thoughts to develop naturally. Let's move further, because at this level, describing changes in your life becomes very important. Imagine someone asks you, "Have you changed any habits recently?" A simple answer might be, "Yes, I started waking up early, but now, let's deepen it." Yeah, I've recently started waking up earlier than usual, and at first, it was quite difficult, but over time, it's actually helped me feel more in control of my day. This type of response shows progression, experience, and reflection. Now, practice this. Think about a change you made recently and describe it with 3 parts. What changed, how it felt at first, and how it feels now. This structure will help you build more complete and natural answers. Now, let's explore something slightly more advanced, expressing mixed feelings, because in real conversations, emotions are rarely simple. Imagine someone asks you, "How do you feel about working under pressure?" A C1 answer might be, "I don't like it." But a C2 response can sound like this: "To be honest, I have mixed feelings about it. On one hand, it pushes me to stay focused, but on the other hand, it can be quite exhausting if it happens too often." This shows balance, awareness, and emotional depth. Now, your turn. Answer this question, but include 2 sides, something positive and something challenging. As you practice, notice how your answers become more flexible. This flexibility is a key feature of C2 communication. Let's continue. And now, we'll focus on explaining reasons more clearly. Imagine someone asks you, "Why do you prefer studying at night?" A basic answer might be, "Because it's quiet." But now, let's expand it. "I think I prefer studying at night, mainly because there are fewer distractions, and I can concentrate better without interruptions." This shows cause and effect, which is essential for deeper communication. Now, you try, answer this question, and use words like because, so, or that's why to connect your ideas. Let's go deeper into daily interactions. Imagine you are giving advice to someone. They say, I feel like I'm not improving. At the C1 level, you might say, you should practice more. But at the C2 level, you can say, I think it might help if you focus on small improvements each day, rather than expecting big results immediately. This sounds more supportive, more thoughtful, and more natural. Now, your practice. Respond to this sentence. I don't feel confident when I speak English. Try to give advice in a gentle and natural way. As we continue, let's focus on something very important, adding subtle details, because these details make your speech more realistic. Imagine you are describing your day. Instead of saying, I had a busy day, you can say, it was actually quite a busy day, especially in the afternoon, when everything seemed to happen at once. This adds a layer of realism. Now, you try, describe your day, and include one specific detail, maybe a time or a moment. This is how you make your English more vivid. Let's continue, and now, we'll explore how to clarify your thoughts during a conversation, because sometimes you need to adjust what you're saying. Imagine you start speaking, and then you want to refine your idea. You can say, what I mean is, or let me put it another way. For example, I didn't really enjoy the experience. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it didn't meet my expectations. This kind of correction makes your speech more natural. Now, practice this. Start a sentence and then adjust it. For example, I liked it. I mean, and then continue. This skill is very powerful because it allows you to speak freely without fear of making mistakes. Now, let's move into expressing preferences in a more nuanced way. Imagine someone asks you, do you like working in the morning? Instead of saying, yes, you can say, I tend to prefer working in the morning because I feel more focused and energetic at that time. This sounds more natural and more specific. Now, your turn. Answer this question and explain your preference clearly. Let's go further, because at the C2 level, you also need to react to opinions smoothly. Imagine someone says, I think people spend too much time on their phones. A simple response might be, yes, that's true, but a stronger response would be, I can see why you'd say that. It does seem like people rely on their phones a lot these days. This shows agreement, but in a more natural way. Now, practice, respond to that sentence, and show agreement. And now, let's do the opposite, expressing gentle disagreement. Imagine someone says, online learning is always better than classroom learning. Instead of saying, no, you can say, I understand your point, but I'm not sure it works the same for everyone. Some people might benefit more from in-person interaction. This is polite, balanced, and natural. Now, your turn. Respond to that statement and disagree softly. As you practice all these patterns, you are building something very important: conversational control, the ability to guide your speech, adjust your tone, and express your ideas clearly. Let's continue deeper. Imagine you are reflecting on something. Someone asks you, "What have you learned recently?" A simple answer might be, "I learned something new," but a C2 response can be, "Recently, I've realized how important consistency is, especially when it comes to improving skills. Over time." This shows reflection, which is a key part of advanced communication. Now, you try. Answer that question and focus on something meaningful. Take your time. Now. Let's combine everything again into a natural flow. Imagine this short conversation. Someone asks, "How have you been feeling about your progress lately?" Instead of giving a short answer, you can say, "To be honest, I feel like I've been making steady progress, even though it's not always obvious. Day to day, I can still see improvement over time." This shows honesty, awareness, and depth. Now, practice this. Answer the question in your own way and include a feeling and a reflection. As we move forward, keep reminding yourself you are learning to express your thoughts, not just form sentences. You are learning to connect ideas, express emotions, and engage in real conversations. And this is exactly what takes you from C1 to C2. Now, we're going to move even further into more complex, more spontaneous, and more natural conversation patterns, where your fluency becomes effortless and your expression becomes truly powerful. Let's continue. And now, we're going to move into a level of conversation where your thinking becomes more spontaneous, more flexible, and more natural. Because at the C2 level, you are no longer translating ideas. You are shaping them in real time, adjusting them, expanding them, and refining them as you speak. Imagine you are in a conversation where someone suddenly asks you, "What would you do if you had more free time?" At the C1 level, you might respond with, "I would relax," which is correct, but very limited. Now, let's expand this into a more developed response. "If I had more free time, I think I'd probably focus on things that I don't usually get time for, like reading more, or maybe learning something new, just to make better use of that time." This answer shows imagination, structure, and natural flow. Now, at your turn, answer this question, but don't stop at one sentence. Continue your thought. Add at least two more ideas. Speak slowly, and let your ideas grow naturally. Let's go deeper, because at this level, talking about possibilities and hypothetical situations becomes very important. Imagine someone asks, "Do you think your life would be different if you had made a different decision in the past?" A simple answer might be, "Yes," but a C2 response could be, "I think it probably would be different in some ways, but at the same time, I believe those decisions helped shape who I am today." This kind of answer shows reflection, balance, and deeper thinking. Now, when you try, answer that question and include both sides. What might be different and what might still remain the same? This is how you build thoughtful responses. Let's continue. And now, we'll focus on expressing your thoughts more precisely, because at the C2 level, clarity becomes even more important than complexity. Imagine you are explaining something, and you want to be very clear. You can use phrases like, "What I'm trying to say is," or, to put it more clearly, for example, "I think it's important to stay consistent," What I'm trying to say is, small efforts over time can lead to big results. This helps your listener understand you better. Now, shine practice this. Start a sentence and then clarify it. For example, I think it's useful. What I mean is, and continue. This makes your speech more natural and more controlled. Let's move into another important skill, describing thoughts as they develop. Imagine you are thinking while speaking. You can say, I haven't really thought about it before, but now that I think about it, and then continue. For example, I haven't really thought about it before, but now that I think about it, I guess I do prefer working in quiet environments. This shows real-time thinking. Now, your turn. Answer this question. Do you enjoy trying new things? But start with, I haven't really thought about it before. This kind of expression is very natural and very common among fluent speakers. Let's continue. And now. So we'll focus on reacting with more depth. Imagine someone tells you, I've been feeling really overwhelmed lately. A basic response might be, that's bad, but a C2 response can be, that sounds really overwhelming. Have you been dealing with a lot at once? This shows empathy and invites further conversation. Now, practice, respond to. I've been struggling to stay focused, show understanding, and ask a thoughtful question. As we move forward, let's focus on something very powerful, expanding short answers into meaningful responses. Imagine someone asks, Did you enjoy your weekend? Instead of saying, Yes, so it was good. You can say, Yeah, I actually had a really relaxing weekend. I spent some time catching up on things I had been putting off, and it felt quite refreshing. This adds detail and makes your answer more engaging. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include at least 2 details. Let's go deeper, because now we'll explore expressing hesitation naturally. Imagine you are not completely sure about something. Instead of saying, I don't know, you can say, I'm not entirely sure, but I think, or it's a bit hard to say, but I feel like, for example, it's a bit hard to say, but I feel like it depends on the situation. This sounds more natural. Now, practice, respond to. Is it easy to learn a new language? Express hesitation, but still give your opinion. Let's continue. And now. We'll explore how to connect ideas smoothly, because at the C2 level, your sentences should flow naturally. Imagine you are explaining something. You can use connectors like, at the same time. On the other hand, because of that. For example, I enjoy working alone, but at the same time, I also value collaboration. This creates balance. Now, your turn. Answer a question and use at least one connector to link your ideas. Let's move further. And now, we'll focus on expressing experiences more vividly. Imagine you are describing a moment. Instead of saying, it was interesting, you can say, it actually turned out to be quite an interesting experience, especially because I didn't expect it. This adds emotion and makes your speech more engaging. Now, your practice. Describe an experience and include how it felt. Take your time. Let's continue, because now we're going to work on handling longer conversations. Imagine you are explaining your opinion in more detail. Someone asks, Why do people lose motivation? A simple answer might be, because they get tired. But a C2 response can be, I think people often lose motivation when they don't see immediate results or when they feel overwhelmed by what they have to do. This shows reasoning and depth. Now, so your turn. Answer that question and include a reason. Let's go even deeper, because at this level, your goal is to keep the conversation flowing naturally. Imagine you are speaking, and you want to add more information. You can say, and another thing is, or, on top of that. For example, I enjoy learning new things, and another thing is, it keeps me motivated. This helps you continue speaking. Now, practice. Start with one idea, and then add another, using a connector. As you practice all of this, you will start to notice something. Your speech becomes smoother, your ideas become clearer, and your confidence begins to grow. Now, let's combine everything again into a natural conversation flow. Imagine someone asks, "What motivates you to keep improving?" Instead of giving a short answer, you can say, I think what motivates me the most is the feeling of progress, even if it's small, because it reminds me that I'm moving forward. This shows thought and emotion. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include both a reason and a feeling. Take your time, speak slowly, and focus on clarity. As we continue moving forward, remember this: you are not trying to sound perfect. You are learning to sound real, natural, and confident, and that is what true fluency looks like. And now, we'll move even deeper into more advanced, more flexible, and more natural conversation patterns, where you can handle any situation with ease. Let's continue. And now, we'll move into a level where your conversations start to feel truly natural, almost effortless, where you're not just responding, but adapting, adjusting, and expressing your thoughts with subtle control. Because at the C2 level, fluency is not just about what you say, it's about how smoothly you say it and how easily you can shift your ideas in real time. Imagine you are in a conversation where someone asks you, what kind of environment do you work best in? At the C1 level, you might say, I work best in a quiet place, which is correct. But now, let's expand it into a more refined response. I tend to work best in a quiet and focused environment where I can concentrate without too many interruptions, although sometimes a bit of background noise doesn't really bother me. Notice how this answer shows flexibility. It's not absolute, it's more natural. Now, your turn. Answer that question. But avoid giving a fixed answer. Add a small contrast or an exception. Speak slowly and let your ideas develop. Let's go deeper, because now we will focus on something very important: adjusting your tone depending on the situation. Imagine someone shares good news with you. I finally achieved my goal. A basic response would be, that's great. But at the C2 level, you can say, that's fantastic. You must be really proud of yourself after all that effort. This response shows emotion, connection, and natural expression. Now, practice. Respond to, I just completed something really important. But make your response feel warm and expressive. Now, just let's shift, because tone is not only about positive reactions, it's also about handling difficult conversations. Imagine someone says, I feel like I'm falling behind. A simple response might be, don't worry, but a more natural C2 response would be, I understand why you might feel that way, but progress doesn't always happen at the same pace for everyone. This shows empathy and perspective. Now, your turn. Respond to that sentence and make your response supportive. As we continue, let's focus on expanding your thoughts in a more structured way. Imagine you are explaining something in detail. You can organize your ideas naturally. For example, I think there are a few reasons for that. First, people often feel overwhelmed. And second, they may not see immediate results. Even though we are not using bullet points, your speech still feels organized. Now, practice. Answer this question. Why do people lose focus? And include at least 2 reasons. This will help you build structured thinking while speaking. Let's go further, because at this level, you should also be able to express contrast smoothly. Imagine you are describing something. You can say, even though, although, or while. For example, even though I enjoy working alone, I still value teamwork when it comes to sharing ideas. This creates balance in your speech. Now, your turn. Create a sentence using contrast. Take your time. Let's continue. And now. We'll explore how to make your speech sound more natural by adding small fillers, but controlled fillers, not unnecessary ones. For example, phrases like, you know, I guess. To be honest, these are very common in natural English. For example, to be honest, I wasn't expecting it to turn out that well. This makes your speech feel more real. Now, practice. Start a sentence with, to be honest, and continue. But remember, use these naturally, not too often. Now, let's move into expressing gradual change, because in daily conversations, you often talk about progress. Imagine you want to say something improved over time, instead of saying, it got better. You can say, it gradually started to improve over time, or little by little, things began to get better. This adds nuance. Now, to your turn. Describe something that improved in your life, and use this idea. Let's continue. Because now, we'll work on paraphrasing, one of the most powerful C2 skills. Imagine you say something, and then you want to explain it differently. You can say, in other words, or, what I'm trying to say is, for example, I found it quite challenging. In other words, it took more effort than I expected. This helps you clarify your ideas. Now, practice. Say a sentence, and then paraphrase it. This skill allows you to keep speaking even when you feel stuck. Let's go deeper, because now we'll focus on describing abstract ideas. Imagine someone asks you, what does confidence mean to you? A simple answer might be, confidence is believing in yourself. But a C2 response could be, I think confidence is more about trusting your ability to handle situations, even when you're not completely sure about the outcome. This shows depth and clarity. Now, your turn. Answer that question and explain your idea. Take your time. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore how to react when you don't fully understand something, because this is very important in real conversations. Instead of staying silent, you can say, I'm not sure I fully understand. Could you explain that a bit more? Or, do you mean that? This keeps the conversation active. Now, She'd practice. Respond to something you didn't understand. Ask for clarification. This shows confidence, not weakness. Let's move further, because now we'll work on building longer responses naturally. Imagine someone asks, "What do you usually do when you feel stressed?" Instead of giving a short answer, you can build it step by step. When I feel stressed, I usually try to take a short break first, just to clear my mind. And then I come back and focus on one thing at a time. This shows process and structure. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include at least 2 steps. Let's continue, because now we'll combine reaction, opinion, and explanation. Imagine someone says, "I think people should always follow their passion." A simple response might be, "Yes," but a C2 response can be, "I think that's a great idea in theory, but in reality, it can be more complicated than that," because people also have responsibilities to consider. This shows depth. Now, your turn. Respond to that statement, include agreement, and then a contrasting idea. Take your time. As you practice all of this, your ability to speak naturally will continue to grow. You will start to feel more comfortable, more flexible, and more confident in any situation. And this is exactly what we are building, step by step. Now, we're going to move even deeper into more advanced, more subtle, and more powerful conversational skills, where your English becomes truly expressive and truly fluent. Let's continue. And now, we're going to enter a stage where your conversations begin to reflect not just fluency, but awareness. Awareness of your listener, awareness of context, and awareness of how your words affect the flow of communication. Because at the C2 level, you are not only expressing ideas, you are shaping the experience of the conversation itself. Imagine you are speaking with someone who seems slightly confused, and you notice it while you're talking. At the C1 level, you might continue speaking the same way, but at the C2 level, you adjust. You might say, "Let me explain that a bit more clearly," or, "Maybe I didn't explain that very well. What I meant was..." This ability to adjust in real time is a key sign of advanced communication. Now, your turn. Imagine you are explaining something, and then you realize the other person didn't fully understand. Try to correct yourself. Start with, "What I meant was," and continue. This kind of flexibility allows you to stay in control of the conversation. Let's go deeper, because now we'll focus on expressing your thoughts in a more reflective and thoughtful way. Imagine someone asks you, "What do you think is the most important skill to develop?" A simple answer might be communication, but at the C2 level, you can say, "I think one of the most important skills to develop is communication, mainly because it affects almost every aspect of our lives, from personal relationships to professional growth." This adds reasoning and depth. Now, show your turn. Answer that question and explain your reasoning. Take your time. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore something very powerful, softening your statements. Because at the C2 level, you avoid sounding too direct or too absolute. Imagine you want to give your opinion. Instead of saying, "This is wrong," you can say, "I'm not sure that approach always works," or, "It might not be the best option in every situation." This sounds more natural. and more polite. Now, practice. Respond to this sentence. Everyone should follow the same routine, but soften your disagreement. Let's move further, because now we'll work on expressing degrees of certainty. Imagine someone asks you, "Are you sure this will happen?" Instead of saying, "Yes," you can say, "I'm fairly confident it will, but of course, it's hard to be completely certain." This shows balance. Now, your turn. Respond to that question and express partial certainty. As we continue, let's focus on building more natural conversation flow. Imagine you are talking, and you want to smoothly continue your idea. You can use phrases like, "at the same time," "that being said," or "having said that." For example, "I enjoy working independently. That being said, I still appreciate collaboration when it's needed." This creates smooth transitions. Now, sham practice. Say a sentence, and then continue it using one of these phrases. This will help your speech flow naturally. Let's go deeper, because now we'll explore expressing personal perspectives more clearly. Imagine someone asks you, "How do you usually deal with challenges?" A simple answer might be, "I try to solve them." But at the C2 level, you can say, "I usually try to approach challenges step by step, rather than trying to solve everything at once, because that helps me stay focused." This shows process and clarity. Now, your turn. Answer that question and explain your approach. Let's continue. And now, we'll focus on reacting to surprising information. Imagine someone tells you, "I made a big decision without thinking too much." A basic reaction might be, "Really?" But a stronger response would be, "That sounds quite unexpected. What made you decide so quickly?" This shows curiosity. Now, practice. Respond to that sentence and ask a follow-up question. As we move forward, let's work on expressing subtle differences in meaning. Imagine you want to say something is good. At the C2 level, you might choose more precise expressions, like, "It turned out to be quite effective," or "It was actually more useful than I expected." This adds nuance. Now, your turn. Describe something positive, but avoid using simple words like "good." Explain it in a more specific way. Let's continue, because now we'll explore handling long explanations. Imagine someone asks you, "Can you explain how you learned this skill?" Instead of giving a short answer, you can build it gradually. "It actually took some time. At first, I struggled with it, but over time, I started to understand it better, especially after consistent practice." This shows progression. Now, your turn. Explain how you learned something and include a beginning, middle, and result. Take your time. Let's go deeper, because now we'll focus on expressing hesitation while thinking. Imagine you are unsure. You can say, "I'm trying to figure out how to explain this," or "It's a bit difficult to put into words." This makes your speech sound natural. Now, practice. Answer a question and include a moment of hesitation. This shows real thinking. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore summarizing ideas. Imagine you have been speaking for a while, and you want to conclude your thought. You can say, "So, overall," or "in general." For example, "So, overall, I think it's important to stay consistent." This helps organize your speech. Now, Your turn. Say a few sentences, and then summarize your idea. This is a key C2 skill. Let's move further, because now we'll combine multiple skills in one response. Imagine someone asks, "What do you think about improving skills over time?" A C2 response could be, "I think it's a gradual process, and sometimes it can feel slow, but over time, consistent effort really makes a difference." This includes opinion, reflection, and explanation. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include at least two connected ideas. Take your time. As you practice all of this, your English becomes more than just language. It becomes a tool for thinking, expressing, and connecting. And now, we're going to move even deeper into more advanced, more subtle, and more refined conversation patterns, where your communication becomes truly natural and truly powerful. Let's continue. And now we're stepping into an even more refined level of communication, where your goal is not just to speak fluently, but to express ideas with precision, subtlety, and control. Because at the C2 level, even small differences in wording can completely change how your message is understood. Imagine you are in a conversation where someone asks you, "How do you usually make important decisions?" At the C1 level, you might say, "I think carefully and decide." But at the C2 level, you can expand this into something more thoughtful. "I usually take some time to think things through, weigh the different options, and consider the possible outcomes before making a decision." This shows a clear process and a more mature way of expressing your thoughts. Now, your turn. Answer that question in your own way, but include at least two steps in your thinking process. Speak slowly and allow your ideas to unfold naturally. Let's go deeper, because now we'll focus on expressing subtle opinions, not strong, not extreme, but balanced and thoughtful. Imagine someone asks you, "Do you think people should always take risks?" Instead of saying, "Yes," you can say, "I think taking risks can be beneficial in some situations, but it also depends on how prepared you are." This kind of response sounds more realistic and more natural. Now, practice, answer that question, and include both a positive and a condition. As we continue, let's explore how to express agreement in a more layered way. Imagine someone says, "Learning a language takes time." A simple response would be, "Yes," but a C2 response might be, "I completely agree. It's definitely something that requires patience and consistent effort." This adds depth. Now, your turn. Respond to that statement and expand your agreement. Let's move further, because now, she's will focus on building your ability to expand ideas gradually. Imagine someone asks you, "What do you usually do to stay productive?" Instead of giving a short answer, you can develop your response step by step. "I usually try to stay organized. For example, I plan my tasks in advance, and I focus on one thing at a time to avoid distractions." This shows structure. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include an example. Take your time. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore expressing personal experiences with more clarity. Imagine you are describing something that happened to you. Instead of saying, "It was difficult," you can say, "It turned out to be more challenging than I expected, especially at the beginning." This gives more detail. Now, you practice, describe a challenge you faced, and include when it was most difficult. Let's go deeper, because now we'll focus on expressing gradual realization. Imagine you want to describe how your understanding changed over time. You can say, "At first, I didn't really notice it, but over time, I started to realize." For example, "At first, I didn't really notice the difference, but over time, I started to realize how important consistency is." This shows development. Now, your turn. Describe something you realized over time. This helps you express deeper thoughts. Let's continue. And now, where we'll explore how to respond when you want to partially agree. Imagine someone says, "Working alone is always better." Instead of fully agreeing, you can say, "I see what you mean. Working alone can be more efficient in some cases, but it also depends on the situation." This shows balance. Now, practice, respond to that sentence, and include both agreement and contrast. Let's move forward, because now we'll focus on making your speech more engaging. Imagine you are telling a story. Instead of saying, "I was surprised," you can say, "I was actually quite surprised, because I wasn't expecting that outcome at all." This adds emotion. Now, your turn. Describe a surprising moment and explain why it surprised you. Take your time. Let's continue. And now, we'll work on expressing cause and effect more clearly. Imagine you are explaining something. You can say, "Because of that," or "as a result." For example, "I didn't manage my time well, and as a result, I felt quite stressed." This connects your ideas. Now, practice. Create a sentence using cause and effect. This will make your speech more logical. Let's go deeper, because now we'll focus on expressing possibilities. Imagine someone asks you, "What might happen if you change your routine?" Instead of giving a simple answer, you can say, "It might help me become more productive, or at least give me a better sense of structure." This shows flexibility. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include a possibility. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore how to keep your speech flowing when you need time to think. You can say, "That's an interesting point," or "Let me think about that for a moment." These phrases give you time without breaking the conversation. Now, practice. Answer a question, but begin with one of these phrases. Let's move further, because now we'll combine multiple elements into one response. Imagine someone asks, "What motivates people to improve?" A strong C2 response could be, "I think motivation often comes from a desire to grow or to achieve something meaningful, and sometimes it's also influenced by the environment around them." This includes multiple ideas. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include more than one reason. Take your time. Let's continue, because now we'll focus on expressing personal perspective in a more natural way. Imagine someone asks you, "How do you see your future?" Instead of giving a short answer, you can say, "I try not to think too far ahead, but I do have a general idea of what I want to achieve over time." This sounds realistic. Now, your turn. Answer that question and keep it natural. As you practice all of this, your English becomes more flexible, more expressive, and more natural. You begin to handle ideas with ease, and your confidence continues to grow. And now, we'll move even deeper into more advanced conversational situations where your fluency becomes truly effortless and your communication becomes truly refined. Let's continue. And now, we're entering a stage where your communication becomes more refined in terms of how you handle complexity, not just in ideas, but in how you connect them smoothly. Because at the C2 level, your speech is not only clear, it is layered, meaning that you can express one idea, support it, adjust it, and expand it, all within the same flow of conversation. Imagine you're asked, how do you stay consistent when working toward a goal? At the C1 level, you might say, I try to stay focused and work every day, which is fine. But now, let's deepen this. I try to stay consistent by setting small goals for myself so I don't feel overwhelmed. And I also remind myself why I started, which helps me stay motivated over time. This answer includes method, reasoning, and emotional connection. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include both a strategy and a reason. Speak slowly and allow your ideas to connect naturally. Let's go deeper, because now we'll focus on expressing layered thoughts. Imagine someone asks you, do you think people change over time? A simple answer might be, yes, but a C2 response could be, I think people do change over time, but not always in obvious ways. Sometimes the change is gradual and influenced by their experiences. This shows depth. Now, you try. Answer that question and include one main idea and one explanation. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore how to express contrast more subtly. Instead of using very direct contrasts, you can soften them. For example, I generally prefer working alone, although there are situations where teamwork is more effective. This sounds balanced and natural. Now, your turn. Create a sentence with a soft contrast. Take your time. As we move forward, let's focus on building longer responses without losing clarity. Imagine someone asks you, what do you usually do when you feel unmotivated? A short answer might be, I take a break, but a C2 response can be, when I feel unmotivated, I usually try to step away for a while, just to clear my mind, and then I come back with a fresh perspective. This adds process and intention. Now, practice. Answer that question and include at least 2 steps. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore how to express opinions with more nuance. Imagine someone asks you, is it important to follow a routine? Instead of saying, yes, you can say, I think having a routine can be helpful, especially for staying organized, but at the same time, it's also important to stay flexible. This shows balance. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include both sides. Take your time. Let's go deeper, because now we'll focus on expressing your thoughts while adjusting them. Imagine you start saying something and then refine it. You can say, actually, or on second thought. For example, I thought it would be easy, but actually, it turned out to be quite challenging. This shows real-time adjustment. Now, practice. Say a sentence and then adjust it using actually. This makes your speech more natural. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore how to express your perspective in a more reflective way. Imagine someone asks you, "What have you learned about yourself recently?" A simple answer might be, "I learned something new," but a C2 response could be, "I've realized that I tend to work better when I take things step by step, rather than trying to do everything at once." This shows insight. Now, your turn. Answer that question and focus on something personal. Let's move further, because now we'll work on responding to complex ideas. Imagine someone says, "Success means different things to different people." Instead of saying, "Yes," you can say, "I agree. I think success is very personal, and it often depends on what someone values the most." This expands the idea. Now, your turn. Respond to that statement and add your perspective. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore expressing gradual improvement. Imagine you want to talk about progress. Instead of saying, "I improved," you can say, "I've been gradually improving over time, even though it hasn't always been obvious." This adds realism. Now, your turn. Describe your progress in something. Take your time. Let's go deeper. Because now, see, we'll focus on expressing your thoughts more smoothly. When explaining something, imagine you are explaining a concept. You can say, "The way I see it," or "From my perspective." For example, "From my perspective, consistency is more important than intensity." This makes your opinion clear. Now, practice. Start a sentence with, "From my perspective," and continue. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore how to express uncertainty more naturally. Imagine you are not completely sure. Instead of saying, "I don't know," you can say, "It's hard to say for sure, but I think." This sounds more thoughtful. Now, your turn. Respond to a question. Using this structure, let's move forward, because now we'll combine multiple ideas in one response. Imagine someone asks, "What helps people stay motivated?" A strong response could be, "I think having clear goals helps a lot, and also seeing small progress over time can be very motivating." This includes more than one idea. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include at least two ideas. Take your time. Let's continue. And now, we'll focus on expressing your thoughts in a calm and controlled way. Imagine someone asks, "Do you think it's easy to stay focused?" Instead of giving a short answer, you can say, "I don't think it's always easy, especially with so many distractions, but it's something that can improve with practice." This shows balance. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include a challenge and a solution. As you practice all of this, your ability to communicate becomes more refined, more controlled, and more natural. You are not just speaking, you are expressing your thoughts with clarity and depth. And now, we'll move even deeper into more advanced and real-life conversation patterns where your English becomes truly flexible and truly fluent. Let's continue. And now, we're moving into a stage where your communication becomes even more flexible, where you can shift your ideas smoothly depending on the situation, the person you're speaking to, and the direction of the conversation. Because at the C2 level, fluency is not fixed. It adapts. Imagine you are in a conversation where someone asks you, "How do you usually deal with unexpected situations?" At the C1 level, you might say, "I try to stay calm," but at the C2 level, you can expand this naturally. "I usually try to stay calm at first, and then I focus on understanding the situation before reacting, because that helps me make better decisions." This response shows a clear process and controlled thinking. Now, for your turn, answer that question and include both what you do first and what you do next. Speak slowly and let your ideas flow. Let's go deeper, because now we'll focus on expressing your thoughts while considering different perspectives. Imagine someone asks you, "Why do people react differently in the same situation?" A simple answer might be, "Because people are different." But a C2 response could be, "I think it often comes down to personal experiences and how people interpret situations based on their past." This adds depth. Now, you try, answer that question, and include one reason. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore how to make your speech more dynamic. Instead of staying neutral all the time, you can show slight emphasis. For example, "What really makes a difference is consistency," or "What matters the most is how you approach it." These phrases add focus. Now, practice. Start a sentence with, "What really matters is," and continue. This helps you highlight your ideas. Let's move further, because now we'll focus on expressing your thoughts more naturally in longer conversations. Imagine someone asks you, "How do you stay focused when you're tired?" Instead of giving a short answer, you can develop it step by step. "When I feel tired, I usually try to take a short break first, and then I come back and focus on one task at a time, because that feels more manageable." This shows a clear approach. Now, so your turn. Answer that question and include at least 2 steps. Take your time. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore expressing opinions in a more careful way. Imagine someone asks you, "Do you think people should always be productive?" Instead of saying, "Yes," you can say, "I don't think it's always necessary to be productive. Sometimes taking a break is just as important." This shows balance. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include a contrasting idea. Let's go deeper, because now we'll focus on expressing your thoughts when you are not fully certain. Imagine someone asks, "Will this approach work?" Instead of saying, "Yes," you can say, "It might work, but it really depends on how it's applied." This sounds more natural. Now, practice. Respond to that question and include a condition. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore how to naturally extend your responses. Imagine someone asks you, "What do you enjoy doing in your free time?" Instead of stopping after one sentence, you can continue. "I enjoy reading, especially when I have some quiet time, and it helps me relax after a long day." This keeps the conversation going. Now, your turn. Answer that question and add one extra detail. Let's move further, because now we'll focus on expressing your thoughts with more subtlety. Imagine you want to say something is not very effective. Instead of saying, "It's bad," you can say, "It doesn't always seem to work as expected." This sounds more refined. Now, your turn. Describe something that is not very effective, but say it in a softer way. Let's continue. And now, We'll explore reacting to someone's opinion thoughtfully. Imagine someone says, I think routines are boring. Instead of simply agreeing or disagreeing, you can say, I can understand why you might feel that way, but I think routines can also provide structure. This shows balance. Now, practice, respond to that statement, and include both understanding and your opinion. Let's go deeper, because now we'll focus on expressing your ideas while keeping the conversation flowing. Imagine you are speaking, and you want to continue your thought. You can say, and at the same time, or, another thing to consider is, for example, I enjoy learning new things, and at the same time, it keeps me motivated. This helps you keep speaking. Now, on your turn, say one idea, and then extend it using a connector. Take your time. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore how to express reflection more naturally. Imagine someone asks you, what has helped you improve the most? Instead of giving a short answer, you can say, I think what has helped me the most is consistent practice, because over time, it builds confidence. This shows reflection. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include a reason. Let's move further, because now, we'll combine multiple skills into one response. Imagine someone asks, how do you stay motivated over time? A strong response could be, I try to stay focused on small progress, because it helps me feel like I'm moving forward, and that keeps me motivated. This includes reason and feeling. Now, your turn. Answer that question, and include both a reason and a feeling. Take your time. Let's continue. And now, we'll focus on expressing your thoughts clearly, even in longer responses. Imagine someone asks, what do you think is the key to improvement? Instead of giving a short answer, you can say, I think the key to improvement is consistency, because small efforts over time can lead to meaningful progress. This sounds clear and natural. Now, your turn. Answer that question and explain your idea. As you practice all of this, you are becoming more comfortable with expressing ideas, connecting thoughts, and adapting your language naturally. And this is exactly what defines C2 fluency. And now, we'll move even deeper into more advanced, more real-life, and more spontaneous conversation patterns, where your English becomes truly natural and truly effortless. Let's continue. And now, we're stepping into one of the most important aspects of C2 fluency, the ability to handle real conversations that are unpredictable, slightly complex, and sometimes even emotionally layered. Because in real life, conversations don't follow simple patterns. They move, they shift, and at this level, you're able to move with them naturally. Imagine you are in a conversation where someone suddenly asks you, have you ever felt completely unsure about something important? At the C1 level, you might say, yes, many times. But at the C2 level, you can expand this into something more thoughtful. Yes, there have definitely been moments where I felt unsure, especially when I had to make decisions without knowing the outcome, and it can feel quite uncomfortable at times. This kind of response shows honesty, reflection, and emotional awareness. Now, your turn. Answer that question, but include not just your answer, but also how it felt. Speak slowly and allow your thoughts to develop naturally. Let's go deeper, because now we'll focus on expressing your thoughts in situations where you need to be careful with your words. Imagine someone shares a sensitive opinion and you don't fully agree. Instead of responding directly, you can say, "I can see why you might think that, but I feel like there might be another perspective to consider." This keeps the conversation respectful. Now, practice. Respond to a statement you don't fully agree with, but keep your tone calm and balanced. As we continue, let's focus on expressing your thoughts when you need time to organize them, because at this level, it's completely natural to think while speaking. Imagine someone asks you, "What do you think is the biggest challenge in learning something new?" Instead of rushing, you can say, "That's a really interesting question. I think one of the biggest challenges is staying consistent, especially when progress feels slow." This gives you time and clarity. Now, your turn. Answer that question. But begin with a thinking phrase. Take your time. Let your ideas form naturally. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore how to express your thoughts when you are comparing ideas in a more detailed way. Imagine someone asks you, "Do you think experience is more important than knowledge?" A simple answer might be, "Yes," but a C2 response could be, "I think both are important, but experience often helps you apply knowledge in real situations, which makes it more practical." This shows reasoning and balance. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include both sides. Take your time. Think it through. Let's go deeper, because now, Talk will focus on expressing your thoughts when something is not clear or not certain. Imagine someone asks you, "Do you think this approach will always work?" Instead of saying, "No," you can say, "I don't think it will always work, because every situation is different, and what works in one case might not work in another." This shows flexibility and awareness. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include a reason. Explain your thinking clearly. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore how to keep a conversation going, even when you feel slightly unsure. Imagine someone asks you something unexpected. You can respond by building your answer gradually. "I'm not completely sure, but if I had to say, I'd probably think that." This keeps you speaking and engaged. Now, so practice. Answer a question using this structure. Don't rush. Let your response grow naturally. This will help you stay fluent, even in difficult situations. Let's move further, because now we'll focus on expressing your thoughts in a more natural, storytelling way. Imagine you are describing a situation where something didn't go as planned. Instead of saying, "It didn't work," you can say, "It didn't quite go the way I expected, and I had to adjust my approach along the way." This sounds more natural and more human. Now, your turn. Describe a situation where things didn't go as planned and explain what happened. Take your time, add detail. Let's continue. And now, G will explore how to express your thoughts when you are reflecting on past experiences. Imagine someone asks you, "What would you do differently if you had the chance?" A simple answer might be, "I would change my decision." But a C2 response could be, "I think I would approach it differently, especially in terms of how I prepared, because I've learned a lot since then." This shows growth and reflection. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include what you learned. Speak naturally and thoughtfully. Let's go deeper, because now, see, we'll focus on expressing your thoughts when you want to emphasize something important. Imagine you are speaking, and you want to highlight a key idea. You can say, "What really made a difference was," or, "The most important thing is," for example, "The most important thing is staying consistent over time." This adds emphasis and clarity. Now, practice. Start a sentence with, "The most important thing is," and continue. Develop your idea slowly. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore how to respond when someone shares a personal experience. Imagine someone says, "I had a really challenging day." Instead of just saying, "I'm sorry," you can say, "That sounds really challenging. Do you want to talk about what happened?" This shows empathy and care. Now, your turn. Respond to that sentence and show understanding. Keep your tone warm and supportive. Let's move further, because now we'll combine multiple elements into a full response. Imagine someone asks, "What helps you stay calm in difficult situations?" A strong response could be, "I usually try to take a moment to pause and focus on understanding the situation, because reacting too quickly can sometimes make things worse." This includes strategy and reasoning. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include both what you do and why. Take your time. Explain clearly. Let's continue. And now, we'll focus on expressing your thoughts clearly. Even when discussing abstract ideas, imagine someone asks you, "What does personal growth mean to you?" Instead of giving a simple answer, you can say, "I think personal growth is about gradually improving yourself over time, not just in terms of skills, but also in how you think and respond to situations." This shows depth and clarity. Now, choose your turn. Answer that question and explain your idea. Take your time. Express it fully. As you practice all of this, you are reaching a point where your English becomes more than just fluent. It becomes expressive, thoughtful, and adaptable. You are able to handle complex ideas, real emotions, and natural conversations with ease. And now, we're going to move into the final stage, where everything comes together, and your communication becomes truly effortless, truly natural, and truly at a C2 level. Let's continue. And now, we are moving into the final stage of your journey in this lesson, where everything you've practiced begins to come together naturally, smoothly, and confidently, because at the C2 level, fluency is no longer something you try to achieve. It becomes something you experience. Imagine you are in a conversation where, and someone asks you, "How do you feel about the progress you've made over time?" At this level, your answer is not rushed, not limited, but reflective, balanced, and clear. You might say, "I feel like my progress has been gradual, but meaningful, even though there were times when it didn't feel like I was improving. Looking back, I can see how far I've come." This kind of response shows awareness, reflection, and emotional depth. Now, now's your turn. Answer that question in your own way. Include a feeling and a reflection. Take your time. Let's go deeper, because now, we'll focus on something very powerful, summarizing your thoughts clearly after expressing multiple ideas. Imagine you've been speaking for a while, and you want to bring your ideas together. You can say, so overall, or when I think about it. For example, when I think about it, I believe consistency has been the most important factor in my improvement. This helps your listener understand your main point. Now, let's practice. Say a few sentences about your learning experience, and then summarize your idea. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore expressing confidence in your thoughts, but in a natural way, not too strong, not too weak. Imagine someone asks you, do you think you can handle more complex conversations now? Instead of saying, yes, you can say, I feel more confident now, especially compared to before, and I think I can handle more complex conversations more comfortably. This shows growth. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include a comparison. Take your time. Let's move further because now we'll focus on expressing your thoughts in a way that feels complete. Imagine someone asks you, what has helped you improve the most? A strong response could be, I think what has helped me the most is consistent practice, along with being patient with myself, because improvement takes time. This includes reason and understanding. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include both a reason and a reflection. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore how to close a conversation naturally, because at the C2 level, even ending a conversation feels smooth. Imagine you want to finish your thought. You can say, so yeah, that's how I see it. Or, that's what I've experienced so far. This sounds natural. Now, practice. Say a few sentences, and then close your idea naturally. Let's go deeper, because now we'll focus on expressing your thoughts in a calm, confident, and complete way. Imagine someone asks you, what does fluency mean to you now? Instead of giving a simple answer, you can say, for me, fluency means being able to express my thoughts naturally, without overthinking, and feeling comfortable in different situations. This shows clarity. Now, your turn. Answer that question and explain your idea. Take your time. Let's continue. And now, we'll combine everything into a full, natural response. Imagine someone asks you, how has your approach to learning changed over time? A C2 response could be, I think my approach has become more focused on consistency rather than trying to learn everything at once, and I've also learned to be more patient with the process. This shows development. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include what changed and why. Let's move further, because now we'll focus on expressing your thoughts in a way that feels natural and complete. Imagine someone asks you, what advice would you give to someone trying to improve? Instead of saying, practice more, you can say, I'd say focus on small improvements every day, and don't be afraid to make mistakes, because that's part of the process. This sounds natural. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include advice and a reason. Take your time. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore expressing your thoughts in a final, reflective way. Imagine you are thinking about your journey. You can say, looking back, I can see how much I've improved, even though it didn't always feel that way at the time. This shows reflection. Now, your turn. Describe your journey and include a reflection. let's move into the final moment, where everything becomes simple, calm, and natural, because that is what true fluency feels like. Not forced, not complicated, just clear, expressive, and confident. Take a deep breath and say this with me, slowly, naturally. I can express my thoughts clearly. I can handle conversations naturally, and I'm becoming more fluent every day. Let the words flow, without pressure, without hesitation. This is your transition from knowing English to living in English. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and most importantly, keep expressing, and you will continue to grow, naturally, every single day. Let's continue. And now, we will gently extend everything you've built so far, so your English doesn't just feel strong in structured moments, but also in completely natural, everyday situations, where conversations are unplanned, slightly messy, and constantly changing, because this is where true C2 fluency lives. Imagine you are in a conversation where someone suddenly shifts the topic. Maybe you were talking about your routine, and then they suddenly ask, "Do you ever feel like you need a complete change?" At this level, you don't feel stuck. You don't pause for too long. Instead, you adapt smoothly. You might say, "Yeah, I think everyone feels that way sometimes, especially when things start to feel repetitive and you just want something new to refresh your perspective." This shows flexibility and natural control. Now, to your turn, respond to that question and allow your thoughts to flow without trying to be perfect. Just focus on expressing yourself clearly. Let's go deeper, because now we'll focus on handling conversations where your ideas are not fully formed yet, and that's completely normal. At the C2 level, you don't wait for perfect sentences, you build them as you speak. For example, you might say, "I'm not entirely sure how to explain this, but I feel like sometimes change is necessary, even if it feels uncomfortable at first." This kind of expression shows confidence, even when your idea is still developing. Now, in practice, answer a question and begin with, "I'm not entirely sure how to explain this," and then continue. Let your thoughts unfold naturally. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore how to stay calm and clear, even when conversations become slightly challenging. Imagine someone asks you a question that requires a longer answer. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, you break it down. "That's a good question. I think there are a few ways to look at it." First, and then you continue naturally. This helps you stay organized. Now, your turn. Answer a complex question and begin with, "I think there are a few ways to look at it." Then continue. Step by step, take your time. Let's go further, because now we'll focus on expressing your thoughts. When you want to sound more precise, imagine you want to explain something carefully. You can say, "What I'm trying to express is," or, more specifically, for example, "What I'm trying to express is," it's not just about learning more, it's about using what you already know more effectively. This shows clarity. Now, practice. Say a sentence, and then make it more precise. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore how to handle conversations where emotions are involved. Imagine someone shares something meaningful, and you want to respond thoughtfully. You can say, "That sounds like it meant a lot to you, and I can understand why." This shows emotional awareness. Now, your turn. Respond to, that experience really changed how I think. Show understanding and connection. Let's move deeper because now we'll focus on expressing your thoughts in a continuous and natural flow without stopping too early. Imagine someone asks you, how do you keep improving, even when it feels slow? At this level, your response flows naturally. I think the key is to focus on small progress, even if it doesn't feel significant at the moment, because over time, those small improvements really add up. This shows control. Now, your turn. Answer that question and keep your response flowing. Don't stop too early. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore how to gently guide a conversation when you want to shift or expand the topic. Imagine you want to connect your idea to something related. You can say, that actually reminds me of something, or, it's interesting you mentioned that. For example, it's interesting you mentioned that because I've noticed something similar in my own experience. This helps you stay engaged. Now, practice, say a sentence, and then connect it to another idea using one of these phrases. Let's go further, because now we'll focus on expressing your thoughts in a way that feels natural, even when you're speaking for a longer time. Imagine you are sharing your opinion. You can continue your ideas without pressure. And another thing I've realized is, or, what's even more interesting is, this allows your speech to grow naturally. Now, your turn. Start with one idea, and then expand it using one of these phrases. Take your time. Let's continue. And now, we'll explore how to express your thoughts when you want to sound thoughtful and reflective. Imagine you are thinking about your journey. You can say, the more I think about it, the more I realize that improvement takes time. This shows depth. Now, your turn. Start a sentence with, the more I think about it, and continue. Let's move deeper, because now we'll focus on expressing your thoughts in a calm, complete, and natural way. Imagine someone asks you, what has changed the most in your way of thinking? At this level, your response becomes more reflective. I think what has changed the most is how I approach challenges. I'm more patient now, and I don't expect immediate results. This shows growth. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include what changed and how. Let's continue. And now, we'll bring everything together in one final, natural flow. Imagine someone asks you, how would you describe your current level of English? Instead of giving a simple answer, you respond naturally. I feel like I can express myself more freely now, and I don't have to think as much before speaking, which makes conversations feel more natural. This shows confidence. Now, your turn. Answer that question and include a feeling and a comparison to the past. Take your time, and as you say these words, notice how your thoughts come together more easily, how your sentences feel more connected, and how your expression feels more natural, because this is what happens when you move from understanding English to truly using it. Thank you so much for staying with me until the end of this lesson. It truly means a lot, because reaching this point shows your commitment, your patience, and your willingness to grow in your English journey. By now, you've not only practiced new ways of speaking, but you've also trained your mind to think more deeply, to express ideas more clearly, and to handle conversations more naturally. And that is exactly what moving from C1 to C2 is all about. It's not just about language. It's about confidence, awareness, and control. Remember, fluency is not built in one day. It's built through small, consistent efforts, every single day. So keep practicing, keep speaking, and don't be afraid to express your thoughts, even if they're not perfect, because every sentence you speak brings you one step closer to mastery. If you found this lesson helpful, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss your daily English practice. And if you can, come back to this video again. Repeat the exercises, speak out loud, and make it part of your routine. Keep going, keep improving, and most importantly, keep believing in your progress. I'll see you in the next lesson. Until then, keep practicing and keep growing.